Barefoot Cavalry, barefootcavalry.com. The Half-Brights in Neon Lights, Seeing the Light at the End of the Tunnel. Posted on August 16, 2018 by YoJack454. President Donald Trump is a master. Understanding that the Democrats are not thinkers, he has snookered them with the rancid culture that they have brought upon America. Unable to think, they are reactionary and set in motion a media crapstorm which they then attempt to surf. Their intelligence community controlled media are working for a satanic takeover of our country. As they went running to Amaleta, who was to become the new Stormy, there is one thread that ties. That thread is their Larry Flynt quality. He's just a smut peddler. Who cares? Omaroso is a retread from the Clinton administration. She wasn't fortunate enough to dip her beak at HUD after 2001 like Jamie Gorelick, but she's a retread nonetheless. This perennial group of political operators on both sides is an indicator of the deep state. Not smart enough to get through life on their own, they will sell their souls to the demon for a buck. Her book should be entitled A Life Without Christian Virtue. Even Piers Morgan has 2 cents to throw in, and he's a few shillings shy of a pound. In Chicago, there's a partnering of multiple government agencies, including the Mexicans, who have information on the people who are in Chicago. The people in Chicago who work for La M are about to get expendable. When we get information from south of the border, the cartel knows about it before we even get it. But here's the real sticker. When Rudy Giuliani busted the mob in New York City with the RICO statute, he was prosecuting the former drug partners of the political elites and elites from the late 70s through the late 80s. If you don't believe this, please look at Boston. Whitey Bulger was a government asset who had volunteered for the MK Ultra program while in prison in the 1950s. Whitey again brought down the old drug partners at the same time that he was an old drug partner. Totally immersed in FBI shenanigans covered by his buds, only Whitey was allowed to hang out in California for a few years with a few million inside the wall of his closet. The mob boys between Boston and Rhode Island got their smackdown from the FBI and DOJ. This is an excerpt of an article written by William F. Jasper, 3/22/2018, and published in the New American. In her March 20 blog post, Sarah Clarter links to a noteworthy 2011 article by Boston Globe columnist Kevin Cullum entitled A Lingering Question for the FBI Director. The FBI Director Cullum was referring to was then Director Robert Mueller, who had previously been one of the DOJ attorneys tasked with overseeing the FBI Bulger criminal operation. The Cullen article introduces readers to objections raised against Mueller by Mike Albano, a former member of the Massachusetts Parole Board and the former mayor of Springfield, Massachusetts. He was objecting at the time to the reappointment of Mueller as FBI chief. While on the parole board, Albano had become convinced that the FBI and DOJ had framed 4 men with bogus evidence for the 1965 gangland murder of a Boston hoodlum named Teddy Deegan. Albano decided to vote in favor of parole for Peter Lyman, one of the 4. So in 1983, when Albano indicated he might vote to release Lyman, he got a visit from a pair of FBI agents named John Connolly and John Morris, Cullen reported. They told Albano that the men convicted of Deegan's murder were bad guys, made guys. They told me that if I wanted to stay in public life, I shouldn't vote to release a guy like Lyman. Albano said. They intimidated me. The FBI and the DOJ framed the 4 scapegoats who were then sent to prison for the Deegan murder to protect Bulger, his henchman Steve, the rifleman Flemmy, and Flemmy's brother Vincent, Jimmy Flemmy. After Albano was elected mayor of Springfield in 1995, he soon found the FBI hot on his tail, investigating his administration for corruption. Cullen noted. The FBI took down several people in his administration, and Albano is convinced that the FBI wasn't interested in public integrity as much as in publicly humiliating him because he dared to defy them. In 2001, Albano was vindicated. The 4 men who had been wrongly convicted in the Degan murder were exonerated. 2 of them had already died in prison. As a result of this shocking government malfeasance, the 2 surviving members and the families of the deceased were awarded compensation of $100 million, courtesy of the taxpayers. Albano was appalled that later that same year, Mueller was appointed FBI director because it was Mueller, first as an assistant U.S. attorney, then as acting U.S. attorney in Boston, who wrote letters to the parole and pardon boards through the 1980s opposing clemency for the 4 men framed by FBI lies. Writes the Boston Globe's Cullen. Of course, Mueller was also in that position while Whitey Bulger was helping the FBI cart off his criminal competitors, even as he buried bodies in shallow graves along Neponset. Unfortunately, members of Congress from both sides of the aisle were too busy singing Mueller's praises. From the sheet music provided by the FBI DOJ scriptwriters and their deep state media allies to listen to Mayor Albano's warning, why have Mueller and the other top DOJ FBI officials implicated in the long-running FBI Winter Hill mob conspiracy not been questioned or held to account? Mueller's Russian-Clinton collusion. Incredibly, the ongoing Mueller-directed farce, popularly referred to as the Trump-Russia collusion investigation, is being directed by a man who should be officially considered a top Russian collusion suspect. It was FBI Director Mueller, after all, who, along with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, failed to take any action to stop the sale of uranium-1 to Russia. Giving Putin 20% of our uranium production capacity seems to be a bit more serious than anything Donald Trump or anyone in his retinue have been accused of. And what was Director Mueller doing when President Obama and Secretary Clinton were helping Putin build Skolkovo, Russia's high-tech version of Silicon Valley? Then there is the matter of Director Mueller himself flying to Moscow per instructions of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to deliver a sample of highly enriched uranium to Russia. As Steve Bias reported here last August, Mueller's press corps, CNN, Vox, Snopes, the New York Times, Huffington Post, et al., have all closed ranks to assure that the public, nothing here to see, move along. Mueller is the establishment's golden boy who must be protected. His halo must remain untarnished if he is to carry out his deep state assignment to unseat President Trump. Who are the behind-the-scenes manipulators who are guiding, propping up, and protecting Mueller? Some idea of the deep state forces that are propelling his investigation can be seen in the strategic promotion he received from quarters such as Council of Foreign Relations, the premier brain trust pushing for world government. Not only has Mueller been an honored speaker at the CFR and many of its affiliated and allied institutions, but he is a recipient of constant accolades by the CFR-dominated anti-Trump media combine. Cash is king. Whitey had his doodad with him, and she was willing to run his errands. No doubt she knows where there's more cash. Thinking of Whitey in a federal lockup brings visions of Paulie in Goodfellas, slicing garlic with a razor blade and lobster coming in by the case. Get rid of that ice, it stinks. This new crew of untouchables in Chicago could be riding this organization to give a bone to law-abiding citizens of America in cleaning up Chicago and to ensure that the investigation does not roll up any of the political elites who are running for the global elites. If you don't see a bank going down with them immediately, then there's a fix. La M at this point, is a new partner in the drug business with the elites and political elites. Today, if the mob wants the coke, it has to go to the Mexicans. The Colombians hardly get their hands dirty in importation anymore, so therefore, do not run afoul of drug enforcement agencies in the U.S. It has been left to the Mexican burro, a glorified mule. President Trump better have more than a finger on the pulse of government. He really needs some badass bloodhounds who are interested in preserving the constitutional republic, the flag, and liberty.